Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Friday, October 24th, 2025. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today are Bishop Robert Griffin, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall. We are the Queer God Squad. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world.
In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots magazine, with Queer News Tonight sharing over 11,000 stories and 11 million views so far.
We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. 57 years of LGBTQ Christianity, Metropolitan Community Churches. The Metropolitan Community Churches movement was founded in a Huntington Park, California apartment on October the 6th, 1968 by Troy D. Perry. Gay and lesbian spaces were frequently invaded by police in the 1960s. Careers were ruined when people were outed, and people overwhelmed with fear and imposed shame would often harm themselves, sometimes fatally. Troy himself had suffered from rejection and despair, and he was inspired to start a church that actively reached out to LGBTQ plus folk to let them know that they were the beloved children of God. This was 9 months before Stonewall and 6 months after the assassination of Dr. King. That gathering that day grew into a church, and that church would grow into a movement, and that movement would become international. And it all started with the courage and vision of one person who believed God wanted LGBTQ people to experience God's unconditional and all-inclusive love. Troy demonstrated that activism is a gospel call, and that to be faithful to the gospel is to actively care about the disadvantaged, the oppressed, the silenced, the erased, the dehumanized, and the hurting. MCC is believed to be the world's first Christian denomination with a primary outreach to the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus community. It remains one of the few still, though some are more welcoming than they once were. A difference is not only that MCC was ahead of other denominations, but unlike other denominations, MCC never had to take a vote to accept LGBTQ people. Queer sacred value was accepted and celebrated from MCC's very first moment. Reverend Perry created a home for those rejected by traditional churches. Troy did perform the first public same-sex union in the United States in 1969. He co-founded the first LA Pride Parade in 1970, fought discriminatory legislation like the Briggs Initiative, and spoke at the first March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights in 1979. For 57 years, MCC has preached Troy Perry's three-pronged gospel: Christian salvation from loneliness, degradation, and despair; Christian community, which is inclusive of non-Christians; and Christian social action, which is social justice activism. Now, Troy is the one who gave the mission that verbiage, but what it really is the gospel of Jesus Christ. Visit the sick and imprisoned, liberate the oppressed, feed the hungry, welcome the stranger, love every neighbor. That's the gospel. And the Queer Church has been committed to it since day one. We all have our roots here at this table. We all have our roots in Metropolitan Community Churches. I'm ordained in MCC. I hold other credentials, but first was Metropolitan Community Churches. We are less involved with the institutional or the organization than we once were. And there's less of it to be affiliated with, frankly. But the MCC values, the MCC founding narrative, the MCC three-pronged gospel, we have been committed to that for the whole time. 57 years of MCC, 54 years of the Sunshine Cathedral. I've been in ministry since '92. You get out the calculator. But it's been this way the whole time. So yes, kings and kingdoms shall all pass away. But MCC's message and Sunshine Cathedral's message are the same message and will remain so into the foreseeable future. Now, we if you looked at our ritual, we're pretty creative. We've got a good liturgy. Our Bible scholarship is in the mainstream of liberation theologies and contemporary scholarship. We are certainly as queer as ever, maybe more so, maybe even more focused, because in the beginning, it was like men and women, and in that order, gay and lesbian. But then over the years, bi, trans, queer identified, asexual, allies, pansexual, all of it, intersex, questioning. And so I guess we're more queer because we're more concerned about more kinds of people under that umbrella. Yeah. But that's the way it should work. The more you learn about injustice anywhere, the more that's going to lead you to being aware of injustice in more places. Yeah. And the Jesus response to injustice is to say something, to do something, to be in solidarity to whatever degree you can with that. So yes, I will never have to worry about an abortion, if not for my gender, for my age. I will never have to worry about that. But people do have to worry about that. And so I care about that.
Yes.
I care that women are being denied agency over their own bodies, that they're being denied choices for their own health care. Doesn't impact me necessarily personally. I mean, it has done. I've had friends and I was worried about them and I've had to be supportive of them or whatever. But even if not, people are having rights stripped. That concerns me. The people being denied due process. So far, I haven't experienced that, but I shouldn't have to experience it to be outraged by it. That's, I think, what MCC's gift has always been. By starting from the margins to a particular marginalized community, we have then been aware and concerned and empathetic about all marginalized people. And when we have failed to do that, when we've tried to sort of sugarcoat it, pull back, go back in the little closet a little bit, that has always been to our detriment. Our calling is to be preaching this three-pronged gospel. And the third, they're all equally important, and that third prong is social action. Not just gay social action, but for the whole LGBTQ community and then all other marginalized communities. To the Jews first, and then also the Greek.
The story makes me so happy. Because October is Gay History Month. And so I think we need to learn our history. We need to learn a good bit about, they say open and affirming congregations. And there's a lot of them, it seems, anymore. The UCC, PCUSA, there's a lot of them anymore. I think that have kind of taken a page from MCC, but open and affirming. And that's lovely, that's wonderful, but it's not the same thing as MCC. It's not the same thing as welcoming and celebrating. Yes. We see people for who they are. We welcome them for all of who they are. Open, affirming, wonderful, yay. But let's look at MCC and what it has done for gay rights, for queer churches, and be the welcoming, celebrating people that we are.
You and I could walk to an AME church right now, CME, National Baptist, whatever. We would be welcome. We'd be treated very well. We could probably become deacons or board members or ushers. I mean, we could be fully involved, but we'd be involved in what they are.
Right.
They weren't. They would never try to water down their history, the reason for existing, the reason why they were necessary, their witness in the world. If we were about them, they would welcome us. But they're not going to change being who they are just so that we might be attracted to them. Right. And I think that's something that queer churches can learn from, is that, if you believe in us, we believe in you. Come, be part of it. We'll put you on staff. We'll put you on the board. We'll put you in leadership. But we aren't being not who we are to attract that. Because you can already go anywhere you want to anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things I like about this story is the quote that MCC never had to take a vote to be who we are today. I mean, it was just automatically from the get-go. And I would go.
Reminded me of that recently. Yeah. That's the big thing about it.
We didn't have to vote. There was no vote for us. We were just there, and Troy made that possible. Along with those who was gathered there, and and I would go as far as to say that there is not a denomination on this planet right now that would not be who they are around the LGBTQ plus community had it not been for the Metropolitan Community Churches. Let me say that again. I believe that there is not a church on this planet that has anything to do with the LGBTQ community has it, because had it not been for the Metropolitan Community Churches.
You're right.
Whether it had been Dignity or More Light or whichever flavor that may have been as a part of those denominations, I believe all of those has roots in the Metropolitan Community Churches. And just to keep in mind that, they may have fought for these different things and these different movements and these different denominations. We were that from the very beginning, not only for LGBTQ people, but also for women ordination, for all the placement and all the inclusive language. Everything is from the very beginning. And so proud of those who fought to be where you are in your place. But I'm glad this is one fight I didn't have to fight in this denomination.
Yeah.
You had
I didn't have to fight
Not this
over, and not that, there has racial issues in MCC, but I didn't have to fight to be voted on as a black person to be accepted into MCC.
Right.
Check your history denominations. Check your denominational history about where you fell on the side of slavery, non-slavery, and who could pray where and how they could pray. That wasn't the case in MCC. I'm proud of all our accomplishments. I am still proud that our founder, former moderator, is still alive with us today.
And God bless him.
And God bless him. And I'm always grateful for his wisdom every now and then when he says something. It's about like E.F. Hutman. When Troy Perry speaks, people still listen. And I think that's part of the movement that it's alive, it's fresh, and it's always evolving. But when you try and put it down into canons and to bylaws and to all this, you just trap in who you really are not trying to be. The liberating spirit of the Metropolitan Community Churches and those who are members and part of it will always say to us, everyone is welcome, regardless as to who you are.
And the beginning of the movement, from that living room in Huntington Park, through the first couple of generations of it, the movement was spirit-filled and spirit-led. So, and then of course you can try to nail it down. You can try to make those tabernacles when you see Elijah and Moses and Jesus all lit up on a mountain. But that's a mistake. We don't know what we're doing. The scripture says Peter wanted to build, but he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what he was talking about. That we try to organize, we try to be respectable, we try to be like everyone else, we try to be organized, we try to be important and official, and we just keep building up barriers to the movement of spirit, who always wants us to be creative and fresh and address what is needed in the moment. And so I think MCC's initial success, where it was just spreading like hot grease, was because it was spirit-led and spirit-filled. And I think those pockets that are still that way are still doing some of the best work. So yeah, and also MCC were, I think, one of the first, maybe the first, to bring queer scholarship out of the academy into the pulpit. That they were deconstructing the clobber passages and talking about Jesus' sexuality and talking about LGBTQ people possibly in the scriptures and contextualizing and going back to Greek and Hebrew of what the words really meant and the cultural context, how they were used. That stuff happened in seminaries, not all of them, more and more now. In those days, few. They were happening in a few seminaries, but they were happening in anybody's pulpit, MCC from the start.
And that whole thing about learning it in the seminary, that's the first thing I learned in the seminary, is that all of that queer language, all of that queer discussion happened in classes. But many of my classmates were informed by their leadership, do not bring that back to my church. So I just want to be a little personal for a couple of minutes. I grew up during this time of revolution. I was 13, 14 years old when MCC was created. I did not know about MCC back then, but I sure as hell knew about Stonewall. I knew about the protests. I lived in New York City. I was a little too young to be hanging out in the village, but still, I grew up in New York City around that. I also grew up in the Black Baptist Church, Northern Black Baptist Church, where luminaries of the civil rights movement would come into our church and speak from our pulpit. So I understood what revolution could be, peaceful revolution could be, but I didn't understand how it affected my spirituality. I didn't see me in my church. So I walked away from the church. I walked away from the church for a very, very long time. And then a friend of ours, my husband and me, 38 years in December, my husband and me, a friend of ours introduced us to Metropolitan Community Church. He said, I go to church every Sunday. And we're like, really? So we went to MCC DC and learned that there was a whole denomination out there that reveled in who we are, that said, yes, you are perfect just the way you are. You never have to change. I'd never heard that in a church before, not about my sexuality anyway. So for that to happen, I was overjoyed and shocked and surprised. I dove into it. I just jumped into that. And before you know it, my pastor at the time, they were going to a conference, a general conference in Australia, an MCC conference in Australia, 1997. He needed people to preach for the 2 weeks that he would be away. So he asked me, hey, preach? I said yes. So my first sermon was sometime in the summer of 1997. And I remember my first line was, "You and I are on a journey." Never knew where that journey was going to take me, but I knew that I was in a safe place. I knew that whatever I said, whatever I did, however I grew, as long as I grew in faith, I was okay. Metropolitan Community Churches gave me that safety zone that I did not know existed, and I will always be grateful to them for that safety zone.
So we're still here. We're still queer. And that queerness includes every kind of person, including straight people. Some of the queerest people I've known have actually been straight, which is great. I think that's a miracle. And also some of the least queer people I've ever known have been gay. So,
There you have it.
story.
All right.
True story. So, but the great thing about this philosophy is that it really is for everybody. It's not for prejudices. It's not for grievances. It's not for, exclusion. Okay, this is all great, but who can we leave out? Well, you're already coming at it from the wrong angle.
Yeah.
But this is for the little lady with the gloves and the Bible and the hat and the purse, and sitting right next to the person with the 17 piercings and the 14 tattoos and the one hair. And it's for everybody.
Yeah, it is.
Yay.
And that's what makes some people very uncomfortable, but it's also what makes a lot of people's lives better than they ever imagined. So if you are in the Fort Lauderdale area, please check out Sunshine Cathedral. And if you're not, wherever you are in the world, you can still check us out, because our Sunday services are live streamed on Facebook and YouTube every single Sunday. And then we have stuff like this all throughout the week. So check us out, and we hope to see you again very soon here on the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, I want to invite you to check out our Performing Arts series. Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts has a great acts lineup for the 2025 and 2026 season. Here is a taste of what's coming up.
Golden Ghouls, picture it, Halloween 2025. It will be right here on our stage, one night only, October 25th.
Then on November 7th, we will welcome back Miss Coco Peru in Fuck This Shit. If this show is like her other tours de force, there will be storytelling, laughs, singing, and a moral to tie up the evening. Or maybe this one is entirely different. You'll have to come to the show to know for sure. But you already know it's going to be one of the best nights of comedy and drag artistry you will have enjoyed all year.
December 7th brings Matthew Darren's annual Holiday Fantasia, always amazing, and this year it will again be co-hosted by Varla Jean Merman.
And in 2026, there's already some great shows lined up, such as Selections from Pearly, a musical based on the play Pearly, Victorious by Ozzie Davis on February the 7th. For more information about these shows and others, and to secure your tickets, go to sunshinecathedral.org/arts.
Please like and share this episode on your social media, and look for Sunshine Cathedral on Facebook or Instagram.
You can also like our individual pages on Facebook. Remember to visit sunshinecathedral.org frequently. There you will find Bishop Talk, where Bishop Durrell and I interview queer religious leaders, activists, and scholars.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we are all in this together. Also remember, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.